You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Well, we are no longer crossing an international border, but we are crossing a desk. We're not even crossing a desk. We're next to each other at a desk. Hi, Sam.
We could build a wall. We could make
that's true.
National border.
Yeah, we could do that. That's the way things.
No, that's it.
That's the way things
Yeah.
go now these
Not
days
enough.
in this world. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, number 127 from MILB.com. And this is number, what would you say this is of in-person pod? This has got to be like number 8.
8? I was going to say 5 or 6.
Okay.
8 is probably right, though.
Somewhere between 5 and 8.
5 and 8. Yeah, that's about
We'll go with that.
This makes it feel like these are like our live specials.
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
podcast says like, we're coming to you from Seattle or something.
right.
Ours is always New York.
We're going to record this from the Orpheum Theater somewhere. And yeah, ours is just like, no, it's in the offices in New York. I just happened to stop by.
Next time you're here, we'll have like audience members. We'll have like the editors come in and just like clap. And
They just sit in the room staring at us.
take
Like,
audience questions. Why don't you turn your stuff in on time? That's the first audience question.
you know, the Milbies are nothing to joke around with deadlines on. They're coming up very soon.
I'm starting to put together the finalists, semifinalists, all that kind of stuff. So if people have seriously, if there's somebody you think deserves a finalist spot in any of the Milby categories, let me know. We're obviously searching high and low throughout the minors, but yeah, that's coming fast. If there's specifically with games are like tough to like go back and find which ones were the most memorable, most exciting, and all that kind of stuff. We could easily end up with like 60 finalists for that, but we got to whittle it down to 10. So there was your favorite game, favorite individual performance. Give us a shout.
Do it. You can find him on Twitter. He is at Sam Dykstra, MILB. You can submit them there. So, hey, with that, welcome into this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. We are very nearly to the end of minor league postseasons. And before we get into discussing minor league postseasons here in 2017, thanks for tuning in to the show wherever you found us. If you were at MILB.com/podcast or on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or the Stitcher app or elsewhere, we appreciate you tuning in. And with that, let's get started. First, I have to apologize for my voice. I sound like the pimple face kid from The Simpsons this week, so I'm just going to preemptively do that. I called 20 baseball games over the course of 9 days in the last 2 weeks, so you're just going to have to deal with it. Sam, titles have already been awarded in a lot of minor leagues, including to co-champions in 3 different leagues due to Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Harvey. Mostly due to Hurricane Irma, there were leagues in the Southeast, but we've got champions a lot already in the minors. A member of one of those champions, Nick Gordon, the second-ranked prospect in the Minnesota Twins organization of the Chattanooga Lookouts, will join us here in just a little bit. But that is strike one. We've already got some titles in. Give us some themes. Give us some of the stories from these early championship winners this year.
Yeah, so let's just run through exactly who, as of Wednesday, has been crowned a champion in the minors. We've got Chattanooga and Pensacola. They're sharing honors in the Southern League. Lynchburg and Down East sharing honors in the Carolina League. We'll circle back to that in a second. Dunedin and Palm Beach in the Florida State League. They're co-champions. Vancouver in the Northwest League claiming that title last night on Tuesday night. And Elizabethton, the Elizabethton Twins in the Appalachian League. Also the GCL Yankees East and the AZL Cubs, for those of you who are following the complex levels. A couple things that kind of obviously stand out. Dunedin, as if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette needed another reason to wrap up a very solid, impressive first full season for both of them. They both get rings after joining Dunedin after the All-Star break and after the Futures game. So that's really cool. Down East wins a co-title in its first season of existence. So congrats to the Wood Ducks. As Tyler mentioned, it is kind of weird in that, the hurricane affected things the way they did. We're not used to giving out co-championships. I know a decent amount of people on the internet were saying, why not just delay the series and wait for the hurricane to pass and then have a championship series. Well, it kind of shows you what championships really mean in the minors. They're just kind of nice things to have at the end of the season. So to have co-champions, nobody's really crying foul that much. The bigger important thing, as you'll hear Nick Gordon say later, is getting everybody safe, getting them into a position where they don't have to worry about the hurricanes. For some of them, that meant getting back home to Florida or to Texas or that kind of stuff. Just allowing them to kind of have a normal offseason or a start to a normal offseason instead of extending it so they can be around for 100-plus mile-an-hour winds. That nobody wants that. But one thing, we are going to be talking to Nick Gordon. One thing you'll hear about us discuss with him is just the fact that Chattanooga was so dominant this year. They went 91-49. They had a .650 winning percentage. That was 15 games better than anybody else in the Southern League, 15 games better than the Montgomery Biscuits in their own division. So not only were they a good first-half team, they were also a very dominant second-half team. It's very interesting to see them win a co-championship because, after their regular season dominance. I know we were all talking about that at the major league level with the Dodgers. It doesn't really matter much if they do all of this before their losing streak. If they do all of this and then they flame out in the playoffs, the Lookouts certainly did not do that. So congrats to all those teams that are clinching. We still have the IL, the PCL, the Eastern League, Texas League, going down the list, the two Class A leagues, Midwest League and South Atlantic League. Lots of playoffs still to come, lots of champions still to be crowned, and we'll be talking more about that next week.
One cool storyline that, just real quick, in the Northwest League, the Vancouver Canadians won their 4th title in 7 years. They've played for 5 of the last 7 titles in the Northwest League, and this is just kind of a cool quirk of that team. Rich Miller, the manager of that team, was the interim manager in 2011 for the end of the season. They started that year with a manager who had to leave to attend to a personal matter. That was back in when John Snyder left that team after 52 games in 2011. Miller comes in, leads that team to a title in 2011, and then leaves, goes into an advisory role in the Blue Jays organization, then goes back as the Canadians manager in 2017 and wins a title wire to wire with his team. So kind of cool storyline out there in the Northwest League. Strike 2 this week, Sam. We are past the minor league postseason in so many cases, and that means that we've got a whole lot of guys who have jumped up to the big league level as September call-ups on the 1st and in the first several days of September. And even now into the middle part of September, Willie Calhoun has made the jump up to the Texas Rangers from AAA there in that system. And kind of a surprise promotion, the Washington Nationals, who have already clinched their division in the National League. Victor Robles, the outfielder, makes that jump from Double-A Harrisburg. What stands out to you about these two call-ups, especially Robles, kind of surprising?
Yeah, Robles really did kind of come out of nowhere. He ended the year at Double-A Harrisburg. He only played 37 games there. Certainly played well this season between Harrisburg and Potomac. Finished with a 300 average, a 382 OBP, which is incredibly high for somebody of his skill set. Being only 20 years old, just cresting at Double-A in the Eastern League. Had an 875 OPS, 27 steals, 10 homers, 37 doubles. We can go down the line. He is a 5-tool player. It's pretty much bang on. The quietest tool, if you could call it that, is his power. The fact that he hit 10 home runs this year, you can kind of see him building to that. What I really like about it is this was a move by Mike Rizzo, just saying, listen, we're going to go for it this year. We want to win a title while Bryce Harper is still around. Everybody's talking about he might be a free agent after next year. He's certainly going to cash in. If he wanted to stay in Washington, he could have signed an extension. But he obviously wants to be a free agent, and God bless him for that. He's going to be a very, very rich man because of it. But they want to go with it while he's there, while Max Scherzer's dominant, while Steven Strasburg's dominant. Gio Gonzalez is having the season of his career. And Robles is probably the best outfielder in that system right now, regardless of potential, all that kind of stuff. Andrew Stevenson also came up as part of their moves. But Brian Goodwin had an injury that looked like it was going to take him a little longer to come back than they would have liked. And, I give Mike Rizzo all the credit for just saying, listen, the kid is the best we have. He looks ready. We're going to use him now. He would have been eligible for the playoff roster regardless, just because he was in the organization. You don't have to be on the team. You have to be in the organization. He was in the organization by the September 1st deadline anyways. That wouldn't have mattered. But the idea of him being a pinch runner, a pinch hitter, an extra outfielder, defensive replacement for Jason Worth or Howie Kendrick, obviously both aging veterans. This is very exciting for Washington Nationals fans, for the organization, and now they get to kind of see where Robles, where he is in his development. If it looks like he's not doing well, okay, then he definitely needs to start next year back at Harrisburg or Syracuse. If he does hit the ground running, does do extremely well, maybe you talk about him, getting a corner spot next year, next to Adam Eaton when he's back healthy, and back next to Bryce Harper and Wright. Does he earn that left field spot? This is his chance, and to see him actually get an opportunity to audition in this way, it's pretty rare, even in these days when aggressive assignments happen. But for a guy at 20 years old, he becomes the second 1997 born player to make it after Ozzie Albies. This is very exciting. I'm very excited to see what he can do in this next month.
1997, that still does not seem like it should be possible. But, there's a lot of big contributors on postseason rosters for major league teams that we have seen just kind of jump into the fray in September in recent years, and we'll see who among them could be that way in 2017. Strike three this week, Sam, is a really interesting topic that has started to gain a whole lot of traction as of the last couple of days. We are recording this today, September 13th, Wednesday. And as of this morning, a story from MLB.com that cites an initial report from Yahoo Japan that the ace and two-way star of the Nippon Ham Fighters and Nippon Professional Baseball over in Japan, Shohei Ohtani, is reportedly set to be posted by his team this coming winter, which would make him available for major league teams going into the 2018 season. Over 5 years with the Nippon Ham Fighters, Shohei Ohtani on the mound has put up a 2.60 ERA in 522 and a third innings, and he has, over that same time, hit 286, 359, 505 with 47 homers and 163 RBIs in 389 games. Our topic becomes this. Let's say everything happens, he gets posted, and that's ultimately the team's decision. It's not Ohtani. He can't just decide, now I'm a free agent, I'm going to sign with a major league club. The Nippon Ham Fighters have to be the ones to post Shohei Ohtani. But let's say they do. He is selected by a major league organization that wins his contract on the posting rights, the money that they will pay to the fighters, and they get to negotiate with Ohtani. If that happens, does he ever see the minor leagues when he comes over to the United States?
The direct answer to the question is probably not. But when he signs, he's technically going to be a prospect. Part of this, the whole thing that complicates this, and the whole thing that's very interesting about this is international spending rights or international spending pools, all that kind of stuff is about to change drastically. It's not going to be the same way that we've kind of grown and to know and all that kind of stuff. Anybody who's signing cannot be signed. It's a hard cap now of $10 million, I think.
Prior to being 25 years old for guys. And Ohtani, that's the crazy thing about Ohtani. He's been in the big leagues in Japan for 5 years. He's only 23. So if he came over after 25, then he can sign an international free agent contract. But as of right now, he is limited to a bonus that would be, believe, between $300,000 and $10 million. I think that's the high end of that cap. But there are 12 teams in the big leagues that cannot spend more than $300,000 on him because they've already exceeded the amount that they've been allotted in the international amateur bonus pools. So that factors into this too. But yeah, that's what makes this kind of a curious decision, is potentially he's limiting himself out of a ton of money by not sticking around in Japan for the next couple of years.
Right. So the interesting thing is, they can't sign him to this money up front, but teams could conceivably try to give him an extension after 1 year, which is going to tip the scales, and I'm sure every team that's looking to sign him is going to try to do that. Obviously, Major League Baseball is not going to allow them to say, we are signing him now for 1 year, and then for an extension he would be signed for 5 or 6 years under that original bonus. But any team could potentially say, listen, we'll sign you now. What our budget situation is, we could give you more money, which is why teams like the Cubs, the Yankees, the Dodgers, people are going to say they are the front runners for Ohtani. But given the way it's kind of even out, any team can afford to sign him for $10 million. They can afford that in their budgets. There are certain teams that can't go above $300,000 because of international spending limits. But it should be an even playing field, and this is what teams really want on the foreign market, and that's why they agreed to this. Players, I feel like, are losing something here. You're not going to get another Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert type situation with guys just getting huge bonuses at the beginning. And I think that hurts players more than it hurts anybody else.
Unless they're over 25.
Unless they're over 25, right.
But,
yeah, we do need to keep coming back to that, right. So it's really interesting to me that Ohtani wants to come this early. He obviously wants the competition. He craves the competition. He wants to be kind of a legend who comes over here earlier than later. Maybe doesn't want to be like a Hideki Matsui, becoming a legend in Japan and a good player here, but not anything near what he was over there. Wants to build, his career here as quickly as he can, and so on. So, it's going to be real interesting. We're only discussing it now because it's such a hot topic. Don't expect him to be in the minors, but when he signs, he's technically going to be a prospect. So where he's going to shake it up amongst the Gleyber Torreses and the Hunter Greens and the Vladimir Guerrero Juniors and all that, we'll be discussing more of that this offseason.
Those 12 teams, by the way, that are unable to spend in excess of $300,000 on the signing bonus itself: the Dodgers, Braves, Cubs, White Sox, Reds, Astros, Royals, A's, Cardinals, Padres, Giants, and Nationals. So that means the international amateur bonus pool, the amount of money that you are allotted to give to international amateurs, those teams have already overspent that. So they're not allowed to go in excess of $300,000 for a signing bonus. One interesting note, though, you said he craves the competition. I think that's spot on. There was a column in the Los Angeles Times today, and again, we're recording this on Wednesday, in which one major league scout talent evaluator said it really looked like he was just going through the motions in his most recent start for the Fighters, and that it's a guy who's just so far and away better than everybody around him that at this point it looks like he needs a new test, he needs a new challenge. So keep an eye on that. Shohei Ohtani, his team won the Japan series last year, so the potential that you could see him play for a little while longer with a talented team with the Nippon Ham Fighters. And I hate to let all of you know this, but they are not the Ham Fighters. That's not the nickname. I always thought the nickname was maybe just like the logo was Fighting Pigs or something like that. They are the Fighters. Nippon Ham is the sponsor. It's a big bummer. It's a big bummer. So, just
want like a comma in there,
right,
or something like that, or like a colon, like Batman versus Superman :
a slash.
Dawn of Justice.
The Nippon Ham / Fighters. Yeah, exactly. Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. They should add some ham fighters into that movie. That would have made it a lot better.
League's coming out in a little while. You can't rule it out.
So that'll do it for 3 strikes this week. We did have one foul ball topic as well, Sam.
Yeah, we might as well just. We're in the writing business. We're in the prognosticating business, I guess, of sorts. We might as well give a AAA National Championship prediction.
Yeah.
Because by the time you all will hear us next week, that game will already have happened. It's happening September 19th in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. Of course, the Rail Riders are still alive in the IL playoffs. They're playing in the Governor's Cup Championship Series right now against Durham. It's Memphis and El Paso on the other side. So to make us look either very smart or very stupid, who do you think is going to play in that game, and who do you think would win it?
I'm going to go with Durham and Memphis. Okay. Oh, were you going to do the same?
So we're in agreement. This is now the official.
So the official stance of the Show Before the Show podcast is a Durham-Memphis AAA National Championship.
Congratulations.
Okay.
To Wilkes-Barre, El Paso. That's all that means.
Exactly. I don't bet against Tyler O'Neill in the postseason. Again, Tyler O'Neill, a terrific start to the postseason last year. Southern League MVP rakes his way, just crushed his way through the Southern League playoffs on the way to a title for Jackson this year. A good performance as well for Memphis. So the thing that does throw a wild card into it for the PCL, Hunter Renfroe has been ridiculous for El Paso since he got there.
He's basically a major leaguer playing
right.
in AAA.
He's a ringer right now on that team.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that he's the guy who goes in and takes over in the PCL. But my money would be on those two. Durham's already got the edge. They got to win in Game 1 in the finals on the IL side. So we're both taking Durham and Memphis. So, congratulations to Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and El Paso.
Right, and you might as well
league
point
titles.
out, last year the AAA National Championship game was El Paso and Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Scranton Wilkes-Barre winning 3-1 over the Chihuahuas in that game. They have a chance to play at home this year, which would be a whole lot of fun.
That doesn't happen very often.
I don't think that. No, I think it's like a Super Bowl situation.
Yeah, right. I don't know if anybody's done that.
We'll have to
played
look
at
into
home.
that. Yeah, if the Rail Riders actually pull it off, you can guarantee that will be a storyline. But I will be there. Kelsey Hennigan will be there. A couple of our editors will be there. It's going to be a mill blowout next week for that AAA National Championship game. We're try to get a couple of podcast interviews, at least one for that as well. Maybe bring you the reaction from whichever locker room has the most champagne popping after the game. So, look forward to that, and look forward to us either being right or wrong. Either half right, half wrong, fully right, all wrong? Like,
Yeah.
the breakdown of it.
Yeah. You know, I don't ever count on being right. So, that's where I go with my confidence. So that'll do it for 3 Strikes for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show. Coming up, we will head to the Minnesota Twins organization and the number 2 prospect in that system, Nick Gordon, who joins us from Florida. His season is wrapped up with a co-championship in the Southern League. We'll talk to him about that and a whole lot more. Nick Gordon joins the show next. With the minor league offseason upon us for some guys, we're going to head to now presumably a graduate of the Southern League in 2017, and that is the second-ranked prospect in the Minnesota Twins organization, Nick Gordon, who joins the show for actually the second time. We had Nick on in the Arizona Fall League last year for just a brief conversation. Nick, welcome back, a return of sorts. How was the end of the season for you?
It was great. It was wonderful. We got to finish it with a bang there at the end. Definitely some of the most exciting baseball I've ever been a part of. And it was a fun year.
Well, let's talk about the end of the year for you guys, because the playoff landscape across minor league baseball was thrown into such disarray with all of the storms, with Hurricane Harvey and with Hurricane Irma, and the Southern League, like several leagues, was forced to have to declare co-champions and cancel the championship series. So you guys, with the Double-A Chattanooga Lookouts, come through. You get a co-championship, but the season ends in kind of a weird way. You end up sharing the title with Pensacola. So you celebrate, but it's, you kind of end on a strange note. What was it like for you guys? Obviously, it's still a massive accomplishment, but you don't get to have that final step. What was that last chapter like for you guys?
We definitely, would have looked forward to playing against Pensacola there, just to kind of get those games in. But definitely, everybody's well-being and safety was definitely the first thing. So for us, we kind of knew that it was some bad weather coming through, and we knew we all kind of have families in parts of Florida and things like that. So I think for the most part, everybody just wanted everyone to be safe. So,
and just take us through that last game. When it ended in such dramatic fashion, Jonathan Rodriguez hits a 2-run walk-off home run for you guys to end it. Usually, when guys win the last game of the year, everybody's going crazy, champagne's flowing, popping, all that kind of stuff. But to end it on that note, what was it like celebrating with the guys afterwards, and what were the emotions like in that moment?
Just in the time that it happened, it just kind of all seems surreal. Like, I kind of think we all were just, did that really just happen? Like, we all just kept saying, that really just happened, and it was a wonderful game. It was a wonderful series the whole time. The Biscuits were a great team. We knew always playing them, it was always going to be good games, close games. So, for it to end that way, that was crazy. That was one of the coolest things I've seen in, all of my life playing baseball. So, after that, we kind of just went into the clubhouse, all just kind of enjoyed it. We jumped around, played some music, and just gave a bunch of hugs and stuff like that. So.
Nick, for you guys as a team, you win back-to-back titles in the first and second halves, and oftentimes that can be one of the most difficult things about a minor league season. Getting into the playoffs and winning a title obviously is difficult, but to sustain success over the course of 2 halves with player transactions and all that kind of stuff so often is even more difficult. And not only that, but you improve your record by 7 games from the first half to the second half. So for you to be a part of a team that wire to wire was so good and be one of the guys who's a focal point there, what was that responsibility like for you, being somebody who was there all year, being a chance to be a part of this and being around that atmosphere of a team that ends up 91 wins on the year, 15 games better than anybody else in the Southern League in the overall standings this year?
Honestly, it was fun. I could say every single day we came in and we had fun. The group of guys that we had, regardless if we got new guys or we had guys come up or down, it's like they fit right into the team. Our chemistry was unbelievable, and we can come to the clubhouse all day, sit at the clubhouse, and be around the same guys every single day, and it was fun every single time we came to the clubhouse, and just to see everybody the way they got after their work when we got on the field, everybody was willing to help everyone, and there's been quite a few times where I'd be throwing to guys like J-Rod or throwing to Wilkins, across the bases and stuff like that, and they can come over to me and be like, I see this or I see that. Just kind of everybody was there to willing to help everybody get better. And it was definitely fun, man. It was great to be around those guys. Our manager, Jake, he was a great manager, always there with us to help us, and all our hitting coaches and pitching coaches. It was a great year for us.
And one thing that's always interested me about your career so far is you when you make a team, you are there with that team for the season. You were with Elizabethton for all of 2014. You were with Cedar Rapids for all of 2015. Fort Myers all last year. Chattanooga all this year. What is that consistency like? When you are starting with a team in April, finishing them in September, and do you feel like your role changes about halfway through the year? Tyler was talking about new guys come up, new guys join, rosters kind of flip. You start the year as the rookie on the team, and by the middle of the season, you kind of know the parks, the area, the teams, all that kind of stuff. How do you feel like your role changes over that second half when you are a guy who's there beginning to end?
I think it changes just kind of with the team. For me, it was, noticing that when we get new guys in who do different things, the team needs different things in that time or that situation. So for me, I would say, it's always definitely trying to be a leader, trying to get the things done that we need to get done, working hard and stuff of that sort. So I would say that always stays the same for me. But the second half of the season, we just we adjusted. Everybody came up with key hits and big hits in big situations. And I think really that's what it was for us, is all together is when we kind of took the load off each other's back, and we fought through it together no matter who it was. So.
Last year when we talked in the AFL, Nick, one of the topics is, you get to the end of a long season. Last year, a fantastic year, all-star season in the Florida State League. Then you go to the AFL, and it kind of shortens up your timetable coming into a new year. But one of the topics that we discussed last year was the impact of your dad, the former big leaguer Tom Gordon, your brother D, on your play as a young minor leaguer. Now, somebody who's graduated to the bigger levels, the upper levels in the minors, you had that experience in the AFL last year, which is such a stepping stone and such a crossover for so many guys between the lower levels and the upper levels. What did that do to prepare you for 2017, going against a lot of guys you would see in Double-A, that you'd see in Triple-A when you're still a young dude going into the AFL last year? Tell us about that experience and how it played into your preparation for this year.
Honestly, I would say confidence. A lot of confidence came out of that. To be able to go to Arizona and play against, definitely the best, and to see yourself do things, that you do. And that you work so hard on, to get better at, and to see it actually happen, definitely it gives you that confidence, and it gives you that feel like you know that you definitely belong, and know that you definitely can play with anybody, and I feel for me, that was definitely a big step, is being confident. That's definitely a part of the battle. Even when you're going into the box on the other side of the ball defensively, however it is, I feel that was one of the biggest things for me, helping me going into the 2017 season, and just seeing Double-A is the same thing. Definitely, you get, as you get older and go up through the ladder, you're going to see guys who are a lot better, arms who are a lot better, guys who can control their pitch. So.
And, well, let's talk a little bit more than just confidence, kind of looking at the way your season went. You hit 9 home runs this year. That was a career high, beating out your previous career high, which is only 3 last year. I'm sure getting out of Florida State League certainly helped that. But just physically, from a maturing standpoint, how do you feel like you've grown from what you were beginning at Cedar Rapids, Elizabethton, to what you are now? Obviously you had the tools to be taken 5th overall back in 2014, but it's starting to turn into even better offensive performance. What do you think has kind of gone into that?
Definitely work. I would just say my dad definitely, the guy who always push me and would say things like, I know that you're a great hitter. I know that you can hit, even when I was struggling. So it's, for me, I would feel just definitely getting reps in. Just the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I've always known that I could drive balls good into the gap, but it was about staying consistent with it. And then I think just working on that and working on doing the right things right instead of doing bad habits that feel good.
Nick, there is so much discussion these days in the importance of versatility at the major league level. Everybody wants their Ben Zobrist. Everybody wants these guys who can play a million different positions and be able to be thrown into the lineup at different spots. And right now in the Twins organization, there is a lot of depth at the shortstop position. So this year you got a bunch of experience over at second base. Take us through that position change obviously isn't quite as drastic as some, but to be on the other side of the infield, there's a whole lot of different footwork. There's different work around the bag on double play balls, all that kind of stuff. What was that transition like? Not a spot that you're unfamiliar with, but how did that play out as the season went along this year?
It was good. Definitely playing shortstop and second base, you have to be athletic. I mean, those are both athletic positions. So, I think it's more of just trusting yourself when you're playing both of them. Definitely the footwork is different. You don't have to, come through as many balls as you would at shortstop, but definitely just using your athleticism at both, I feel, is definitely going to make me be my best at either one of those positions. So. And
one thing, Tyler brought that up, and I wanted to ask about that as well. It didn't seem like you played any second after May. Was that something they talked about in the spring and then decided they were going to take you off it? I mean, what were those conversations like in terms of making you a full-time shortstop again, especially over that second half?
We kind of just talked about, that I would get some time at both of those positions, and just to make sure I work at both of them. It wasn't really, I didn't get a time frame or anything like that. So definitely the Twins know what they want. They know what they need. And, whenever they see something, I'm definitely willing to try, willing to do my best at everything. So, it was just kind of playing there with Vielma, who I actually enjoyed a lot playing with, playing up the middle with. I learned a lot from that guy. So, I mean, it was just, I guess, just kind of getting me work at both of them, and then.
Nick, one of the things that stands out a little bit this year is the second half. Your offensive numbers dipped some, which compared to the first couple of years of your career, offensive numbers really jumped in the second half. And obviously that's going to be the track of a lot of guys climbing, is at some points you're going to find that, when leagues adjust to you or you get a little worn down over the course of a season, the second halves can be long. But to finish with a good flourish when you guys are able to win a co-championship and all that, how do you view the second half from a personal perspective, and what does that teach you going forward into, whether it's Rochester next year or Minnesota in short order, on how to progress as the season goes along to stay on a consistent track?
Definitely just staying healthy, and I went through some times where I had to make some adjustments this year. Definitely, and that's stuff that you live for, that's what you love, and the game is about adjustments. So, something like that could happen this year, but next year it could be totally opposite. It could be the other way, so it's definitely just about making adjustments, and always staying one step ahead, and definitely going through my little dips at the second half this year. It taught me that. It taught me that even more. I knew that, but it definitely taught me, how to make adjustments on certain things and what type of adjustments to make, and I just feel like, it was definitely a learning curve for me.
And what do you feel like was an adjustment that you had to make over that second half to kind of carry you through the last couple months?
Definitely would be not doing more, not doing as much. Definitely at the plate. Days that you don't feel good, you don't have to do more. Less is definitely more, and it's all about keeping it simple.
And I don't know if you know this. It's not usually a stat that's generally out there, but Twins affiliates. Every team that was a Twin affiliate this year collectively led minor league baseball with a .592 winning percentage. You guys obviously contributed a lot to that. Fort Myers helped, Rochester all the way down the line. But how do you feel like, or do you feel like the organization has changed any? I mean, how have you seen the organization as a whole grow in your 4 seasons with the Twins?
We get better every year. Definitely, coaches and players, we all get closer. The more time we spend with each other, the closer we get. The bond gets bigger. And I can definitely say, we got a bunch of guys who go out and give their all, no matter if it's coaches or players. And that's something that you always want to see. Guys who can go out, going to leave it all on the field, and everything that they do, is that is when, we can tell that we're growing and then we're getting better, and that's what you want. It's all about the process. So.
All right, Nick, we'll get you out of here on this. We always like to wrap up with things that are non-baseball related, but are obviously important to guys. And one of those to you is writing music. And I remember back in July, one of the tweets that kind of blew up a little bit on minor league baseball Twitter was you said on July 29th, quote, "If I wanted, I could drop the hottest mixtape of 2017. And then later on, you said that you could be at the VMAs if you wanted. You said sometimes when you can't sleep, you write music, which is pretty awesome. What does music mean to you? I mean, guys so badly need something anything that isn't baseball because you're living it, you're breathing it, you wake up, it's all you do all day, every day. For that to be, your outlet, what does music mean to you, and how does it get you through the grind of a baseball season?
Actually, I write a lot of music and I listen to a lot of music. And a couple of my closest friends, one of them a producer and one of them really enjoys writing music as well. And it's just something that we've always kind of been close to as I grew up, and definitely playing baseball, long bus rides and stuff like that, nights when you can't sleep. Definitely that's something that I enjoy doing. I don't know, I like to put words together, and like to hear it on beats and stuff like that. It's just something that I enjoy doing. It's a nice hobby.
I mean, it's the off season. You could probably make the mixtape now. You could. There's still time in 2017. You could do it now.
I'm saying I could. I could. I really believe it.
That's awesome. Nick is on Twitter. Nick Gordon is at FlashG3. And Nick, it's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you, man. And congratulations on a good year for you and a good year for the Lookouts. And we'll be seeing you in Rochester, wherever, in 2018, man. Best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we'll be buying the mixtape. Don't worry.
Pre-ordering.
All right. It sounds good.
Well, we're going to pull back the production curtain and admit to you that though this is the third segment of this week's episode, it is the first one that we are recording. So very excited to be joined by not only Sam Dykstra, but one Benjamin Hill, the man to my literal right today. Hey, Ben.
Hey, you're to my literal left, Tyler, and I think that's the case in all situations.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You seem to be pretty liberal, based on some of your tweets.
I don't know, man. I always stick to sports.
All right, let's stick to sports. Absolutely. How'd we get off track so quickly?
I have no idea. It tends to happen to us.
Stick to sports.
Okay, we'll do it. Well, let's start by sticking to sports, by sticking to one sport in particular, and that is the world of minor league baseball. We got some news in the affiliation shuffle pretty early. Earlier this month, several days ago, the Houston Astros, it became known, will be heading out of Greeneville. That's Greeneville with an extra E in the middle, in the Appalachian League, not to be confused with Greeneville in the South Atlantic League, which is a Boston Red Sox affiliate. But the Astros will be leaving the rookie-level Appy League. Looks as though the Greeneville team will have a new parent club as of next year. What do you know about this situation?
Well, I don't know. I don't have any inside information on this. Some things, I'm a real insider. This one, not so much. But it is an interesting scenario. There's 10 teams in the Appalachian League, and the Appalachian League is different from all other leagues in that all 10 teams in this rookie-level circuit are owned by the parent club. So PDCs, parent player development contracts, don't come into play. Affiliation agreements don't come into play. It's basically the teams own the clubs, and they want that team in the Appalachian League, and that's just how it works. So we just finished a odd number year, where normally we don't see any affiliation changes or anything of this nature, but it's different in the Appy League, and the Astros decide they want to go in a different direction, maybe consolidate their rookie teams, more complex level teams, and then start what I call real minor league baseball in Class A short season with the Tri-City Valley Cats. And that leaves Greeneville currently without a team. And that's a little disconcerting because you always want to see circuits like the Appy League thrive, or at least I do, these real throwback environments. And it already seems a little bit of an anomaly to have teams in some of these Appy League markets. So it's always a little concerning when something like this happens and a team pulls out. And you don't have to go back too far through the annals of time to find a situation similar to this, in that you may recall after the 2006 season, the Pulaski Blue Jays, the Blue Jays organization, decided to do the same thing that has happened here in Greeneville. They moved their team out of the Appy League, and then in the Appy League, in that case, did not find a replacement. And 2007 was a 9-team league, which obviously, when you think about it, brings a lot of problems. In that there was an off day for every club every day, except not really. They would do these unorthodox double headers where teams would play 2 games in different ballparks in some cases. And you can do that in the Appy League because there's such close proximity for a lot.
I never knew about this. This is fascinating.
Yeah, that was 2007. So that was a rough time. But then the Mariners came into Pulaski after that, and then after the Mariners left, there was a ton of upgrades to Calfee Stadium, Calfee Park, where the Pulaski team, and now that's one of the premier environments in the Appy League. So they got through it. A great thing that Greeneville has going for it is that is amenity-wise. What is the name of the ballpark? I went there last year. It's
Pioneer Park.
Thank you, Pioneer Park. It's on the campus of Tusculum College. It is by Appy League standards like tops, I think, in terms of actually amenities. Calfee and Pulaski would be the only one comparable to it. So, I was talking to Sam about this earlier. There are some Appalachian League ballparks where if a team pulled out, you'd think like, well, who would probably go to there? Like if that happened in Princeton, with no disrespect to Princeton, it'd be tough to think maybe of a team that wanted to swoop in and play in Princeton, West Virginia. But Greenville is a really great environment for Appalachian League baseball, especially from the player development side. It's the newest park in the league, and it's really well situated for a team to play there. So I think with that going for it, hopefully Greenville can find a taker, keep the Appy League at 10 teams, and move forward as if nothing really happened.
One of the interesting things about this, too, is that the Astros have indicated that they will not be replacing Greenville in their system. They'll go GCL, short season, Tri-City, and then they'll move up to their 4 full season teams, which is an interesting tack, too.
Well, I was just going to ask, how exactly would a transaction like this work? With a team just moving in. I mean, they take place in they would, have to move a team into the stadium. It's not like ownership would be transferred here, or would it? How exactly does that work?
I don't know the specifics of that situation. I think that's worth looking into. But I assume it would have to happen with some level of negotiation between the major league club in question wanting to put a rookie team affiliate there and Greenville, the Tusculum College, and that owns the Pioneer Park, and figuring out specifics of that relationship. But I don't know the ins and outs in the Appy League. It's a strange league, as I said, with all the teams being owned by parent clubs, and so therefore more of an ability for teams to pull out at will. But I don't know the specific process that would take place to get a team there. And it's interesting at the short season level. When you're talking about Class A Advanced, Double-A, and Triple-A, it's simple. There's 30 of each of those teams. Each major league organization has one team at all 5 of those full season levels. In short season, it's different. There's 18 teams between the Appy and the Pioneer League, the rookie-level teams. And then there's, I don't know how many between the Northwest and New York Penn League, the Class A short season clubs. But there are some organizations that choose to have both a rookie-level team and a Class A short season team, and some who only have one within those 2 levels of play. So it gets a little convoluted there's more variables down here at the lower levels, especially when you consider the myriad GCL and complex type leagues, AZL, that can operate as well. So a lot of moving parts to this. It's minor league baseball. You don't have to say that. There's always moving parts.
That is true. We also fell into quite a rabbit's hole when it came to the Astros minor league affiliates, which is that we acknowledge that when they go from short season Class A to full season Class A, they go from Tri-City to Quad City, which is weird enough. But then we figured out that they go to Bowie's Creek and then to Corpus Christi. So they go from TC to QC to BC to CC, and they used to have Oklahoma City in that system, so they're trying to corner the market on all the multiple word location designators that end in C. Anyway,
man, you're the first person to ever really drop that.
It's the Illuminati, man. They're trying to focus in on the Astros minor league ranks.
Yeah, I mean, tell your friends if you just heard that factoid, courtesy of Tyler Mon.
Or if you're on the subway or something, turn to the person to your left.
Listen to what I just learned about the Astros system. You will not believe this.
Yeah, I mean, really, they go from TC to QC to BC to CC, and they used to be in OKC. That's amazing. We should dedicate a whole episode to this.
I agree. Thank you, Ben. I agree, and I don't sense any sarcasm in your delivery there. Let's move along. You got a good story up on the site right now, which is, I love this story. The state of North Carolina is kind of the cradle of minor league baseball. 11 teams in that state, and when you look at the history of North Carolina and minor league baseball, there are literally hundreds of teams that have gone through at various levels and leagues that haven't existed for a long, long time. But the North Carolina Baseball History Museum is the topic for this story, which is on the site, and it's awesome. Go check it out. But tell us about this spot in Wilson, North Carolina, former home of the Wilson Tobbs in minor league baseball.
Right. Well, I'm still cranking out the on-the-road stories for MILB.com, but not for long. Obviously, the season's over. I have no more stops on the agenda, but this on the Baseball History Museum is from my last trip in the Carolinas in late August, and it will be my penultimate on-the-road story this season. And I'd actually visited this stadium in 2011 on a similar road trip. And that road trip involved Kinston when it was the Kinston Indians. And so cut to 2017.
That was the road trip where we first met, Ben.
Really?
Do you remember?
Oh, in Myrtle Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were really helpful. You helped
Thanks,
me
buddy.
set up a lot of interviews.
Now we're best friends.
No, absolutely. And now you've sidetracked me from like the very serious point I was trying to make.
That's going on in Brent's right now.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, 6 years later, baseball's back in Kinston and formed of the Down East Wood Ducks. I flew into Raleigh-Durham, and I was going to start the road trip in Kinston, the home of the Wood Ducks. And on the way, I made a return visit to Wilson, which is just about an hour outside of Kinston. And the Wilson Tobbs, who are a summer collegiate team, play in this old ballpark, Fleming Stadium. It was built in 1938, I believe. And on the grounds of the stadium, in kind of a clubhouse-like structure down the third baseline, is the Baseball History Museum. It costs $3 to get in, $1 if you're young or $1 if you're old. And it is just packed with memorabilia, and it's I call it a labor of love in the story, and it clearly is. It's just something that a bunch of local fans in the area decided to do, pulling their resources, pulling their memorabilia. So you walk into the main room, and all 7 North Carolina Hall of Famers have their own kind of locker-sized display case with memorabilia to their pertaining to their careers, with some pretty interesting memorabilia. And then there's, under glass cases, there are baseball cards and various ephemera related to all 400-plus North Carolina natives who have played in the major leagues. So there's just like a lot to explore just on the North Carolina angle in terms of the native players. And then in the second room, it's just ephemera. I love that word. There's a lot of ephemera. And it really makes you realize just how much baseball history has happened in North Carolina, its deep roots to the sport. And you see things like a home run derby in the off season of like 1960 or 61 featuring Roger Maris, and they came through and did that. And Babe Ruth playing an exhibition game in 1914 in somewhere in North Carolina.
Nashville.
Yeah, and he hit a home run, and there's a plaque commemorating his home run that says the ball went 135 yards. I'm like, what home run was ever measured in yards? But
What was the meters on this home
Yeah,
run?
they only had a yardstick around.
Right. So you can see that. Ted Williams coming through in 1956 on an exhibition game. During an era where teams, while heading north, would sort of make stops along the way and play exhibition games. So there's just a lot of really cool stuff at this museum, the North Carolina Baseball Museum, on the grounds of Fleming Stadium in Wilson, North Carolina. And if you like road trips and baseball history, which you have a better chance of the average person if you're even listening to this right now, North Carolina, is, I think, actually the best state, period, for minor league baseball in terms of how condensed it is, how many there's 4 different leagues, 4 levels of play, 11 teams total. So a great road trip state, and if you're in the mind to be road tripping through Carolina with a baseball context, then you can also hopefully see a Wilson Tobbs game, see a Summer Collegiate League game, just stop by this museum, still be in close proximity to Zebulon, where the Mudcats play, to Kinston, where Down East Wood Ducks play. And, I'm all about maximizing your North Carolina road trip adventures, and that's what I'm here for.
You really do get the full gamut of minor league baseball, not only in levels, but, in ballparks as well. You talk about some of the old parks. Kinston's one of those. You go to the newest and biggest jewels on the minor league landscape, Charlotte and Durham and that type of stuff. North Carolina, that is very true. It's, if you are a minor league baseball nerd and you are a person who likes road trips, that is the place to be.
Well, the only thing I was going to ask, because we got to run here real fast, was just, where does Tobbs come from? Did you ever get an answer on that?
I did get an answer from that. Tobbs, T-O-B-S, is short for tobacconists. And Wilson is a tobacco town, so they still have the name Tobbs referencing the tobacco industry. And I was told that the former or maybe still current mascot of the Wilson Tobbs is a tobacco worm.
Huh. That sounds disgusting.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Tyler. I think it sounds beautiful.
That's true.
Big crusty
That's true.
tobacco.
It could be the lung that they did from last week tonight with John Oliver. The story is up right now at MILB.com. The Wilson Tobbs used to be a minor league team named the Wilson Tobbs. Now they are a collegiate summer league team, and calling that ballpark home in Wilson, North Carolina. Fleming Stadium. Check that story out at MILB.com. Benjamin Hill is on Twitter at BensBiz, and you can find the blog bensbiz.mlblogs.com. Continuing to roll out the last stuff from the road trips in 2017, and looking forward to more as always, buddy. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I am approaching finishing my personal season with getting all this stuff out there. As I said, one more MILB.com on the road feature story. Got a lot more on the blog to come, but by early October, it'll all be in the rearview mirror. And then it's, as I was saying earlier, existential crisis time. Yeah.
You and I are good at that.
The off season just really brings it out in me. I love it. I look forward to it.
It makes you sit and think way too much. That's our problem.
you and I are very sensitive men who overthink things all the time. So, if you are an oversensitive man who overthinks things, has a lot of empathy, but maybe gets in his own head too much and is self-critical, hit me up on Twitter @Ben.
Then this is the show for you. Thanks, Ben.
Hey, thank you.
Again, you can find Nick Gordon on Twitter for the Minnesota Twins at FlashG3. That's the number 3, RD, not THIRD. And a big thanks to Nick, and a big thanks to Benjamin Hill as well. Milb TV, just watch everything, basically.
Yeah, there's nothing really we can tell you here's a specific game to watch, because every game has importance, and we don't know exactly who's going to be clinching when, that kind of thing. So if you're split between games, just go with the one that looks like that is a series deciding game. Whether it's a game 4 and a best of 5, that type of situation, or if it is a game 5 and a best of 5. No matter which game you choose, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going into next Tuesday's AAA National Championship game, there's going to be something to watch. And then on Tuesday, that's it. There will be no more Milb TV. So enjoy it while it lasts, I guess.
Yeah, what? That was ridiculous. Season number 3 of the Show Before the Show podcast, nearly in the books. How did that happen? The season is never in the books because we're with you all off season, but regular season number 3.
We're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And it's just like we're the same thing. We're just gonna be talking about other things.
We'll talk about the AFL and literally anything else that goes on.
Promo seminar and then the winter meetings.
Don't worry, people. We're not leaving you. I promise. That'll do it for this week's. I always get so sad when the in-person episodes are over, Sam.
I know. We can do more of them.
We'll do more. We'll make it happen. All right. Up to it. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.